Hey, what's up guys? This is Blader03. I love the support this channel has been getting. Tons of people coming on here from the blading community with larger channels than mine. And they're feeding in saying that they love this series, that they wish more people were doing back to basics. And I think it's kind of crazy that we don't have anybody doing basics right now. With so many people coming into the game, you know, and I'm one of those people. I just have a background in shooting sports, right? Or in certain things that just I'm transferring over. And nobody is teaching these people like the fundamentals. So this series has been getting a ton of support and I love it. So yesterday we covered your footwork, right? Where you need to be placing your feet, that you need to be grounded. People have been messaging me, commenting, and saying that, oh, well, if I lose, I'm blaming it on my footwork. And they don't actually think about footwork, but if they lose, they say, oh yeah, it's because, I was standing wrong. Well, we got to get our footwork lined up first, right? If I'm in a boxing match and my feet are too close, I'm going to topple over, right? If I'm doing jujitsu and my feet aren't placed properly, I'm going to get swept, right? If I'm playing baseball, the power is not going to get transferred to the ball from my swing. Or if I'm shooting, right, free throws, like if I'm shooting free throws and I'm not lined up, it's not that repetition that I've had. And now we're going to go from feet to hands, right? So, as you know, shooting sports, right? A lot of it has to do with hands. And, a lot of my friends are sending me videos talking about, and I'm telling them kind of what my process is with this series and kind of, where we're going with it. And they're saying, oh yeah, check out this video, check out that video of my launch. And I'm surprised just how many people are holding their launchers. I'm looking for, I'll put a picture here of how they're holding their launchers this way. If you're holding your launcher this way, I like to reference it to a knife, right? If I'm doing knife work, I'm not going to hold my knife like this with the blade coming up and down. I'm going to put my thumb on the spine of that blade. It doesn't matter what you're doing, right? If I'm cutting a piece of rope, I still have my thumb on that because I'm applying pressure to get it out of there. I'm controlling that blade. I'm controlling that knife, right? The thumb being on the spine is going to give you that control. And a lot of people are shooting like this with a closed fist. But, in a later video, I'm going to go over my setup and how I've prepped my launcher. And I have a custom launcher that I built. I didn't break any rules. I didn't hack it. So, I didn't crack it open. So I can still use it in any tournament, but it was just too small and childlike for my hands. I'm 6'2", I'm 210 pounds. So I've got larger hands and the child's toy is not gonna work for me. So I had to make it larger. I had to make it feel less like a toy. And in that, I actually put grip tape, like a skateboard grip tape on the spine of that launcher grip because it's a reference point for my thumb. As I'm going to launch, I have that stability and that control now. And if you take anything and you were to hold it in your hands, if you hold it without your thumb being on the spine, you can turn your wrist. But as soon as I put my thumb on the bag, it's adding that structure and adding that support. Oh, perfect. This is what happens when you just have random stuff. So a wrench, if I'm holding it like this and I can bend the wrist. So as I'm pulling, if my thumb is this way, I can have a tendency of a bad habit to bring that launcher back. That is not going to lead to a consistent launch. That is going to be sometimes you're straight, sometimes you give, sometimes you're overcompensating and you're trying to shoot it away from you, which are going to give you inconsistent results, right? When I'm shooting, when we have pistols, you can anticipate the dip. Right? So people are trying to force their pistol down. And if they're trying to force their pistol down, it's going to drop their shot. But they're anticipating when the firearm is going to go off, right? So if they're anticipating, they're dipping and they're actually dropping their shot, or they're pulling one way or the other, and that's going to throw their shot off. So having a good grip, if you research any shooting sport, whether it's firearms, archery, darts, any of it, anticipating that shot, you're gonna get a different result, right? So in that grip, you want to place your thumb so that way you can have that steady launch as you rip or as you pull. You're not actually pulling back and creating a terrible amount of pressure in that wrist, right? Your wrist is not gonna give, or you're not gonna anticipate. You want it to be consistent. Consistent pulls is how we're gonna get the practice, and that's how we're gonna get better. So now you've got your footwork, now you've got your grip, right? And you want to have as many reference points as possible. You want to have the same grip over and over and over again. And if you ever look at my launcher, I have baseball grip tape on my launcher grip. Then I've put the skateboard grip tape where my thumb goes. Then I've got actual tennis tape that I've got inside of my pull cord launcher, right? That gives me a reference point for my finger, so my finger is not sliding around in the loop of the pull cord, right? So I have reference points, so that way I can continue to get a more consistent launch, and it's gonna go where I want it to go. So in that, we want to have a consistent pull, we wanna have a consistent grip, right? And our arms. Another huge thing is I see a lot of people locking out their arms and pulling, right? Pointing it down and pulling this way. If we lock out our arms, it's just like anything else. If you lock that arm out, right, to where the elbow is fully extended, any change, right, if I'm pulling, it's gonna deter just a little bit because you're giving no ground for any kind of rebound, for any kind of shock absorption if you're locking that arm out. If I lock the arm out, it is where it is, and I cannot change by any means necessary. If you think about a pole, right? If you take a pole and I touch it just a little bit, that whole pole is gonna move. But if you have like a pool noodle, right, that's got a little bit of flexibility, if you touch the end, the part that I'm holding is not actually gonna move. Just the tip of the pool noodle is gonna move. So when we're shooting, we wanna have a slight bend in our arm, right? We don't wanna lock our arm out to launch this way. We wanna have a slight bend in our arm with our thumb placed, so as I pull, that shock absorption is gonna start in my thumb, it's gonna end in my elbow, so that way I'm not changing my shot up. We're gonna land in a consistent space if we do these repetitions over and over again. We want to have a consistent pull also, and I know I'm throwing a lot at you this time, but there is a lot to this, okay? And arguably more than footwork, because this is where your launcher is, right? The footwork, you square up, you're there. Your hands, this is where a lot of your strategy is gonna come into play because now we've got to use our hands. And if we're getting an inconsistent launch because we're anticipating, we're dipping, we're trying to, our grip is inconsistent, our rips are inconsistent, we're gonna have a different result, and we can't base this out of skill at that point. Now it's more of a luck-based thing, hoping that you hit the same point. Somebody referenced in another video of mine, like, oh yeah, I'm trying to do this training, but I only hit it 1 out of 10 times. Well, if you're only hitting it 1 out of 10 times, that's because something is changing. Something is changing in your launch. Otherwise, you would hit it 10 out of 10 times, or you'd be pretty dang close. So we want to get our thumb on the spine, and if we're using just the pull without a grip launch, that's fine too. We just want to have a consistent launch, right? We want to have a consistent grip. And then on the pulls, we've got to learn how to manage our input. If I'm ripping as hard as I can, one of my good friends that I actually compete with here in Atlanta, he has got one of the most insane fast rips I've ever seen. But it works because he's an attack type. All of his have attack type bottoms. So a fast launch is coming right out of the gate. But that's how he launches. For me, I've got to vary between a fast launch, I've got to vary between a slow launch, a mid launch, right? Where I'm placing the shot, and am I using string or pull cord? All of these are coming into decisions that I'm making, right? Different blades, different strategies, different launchers. But we want to make sure that we're calculating how much we actually need to pull. If you know, hey, I've got an attack type, I'm gonna send it as hard as I can every single time. Good, know where you're placing it. Because if you send it as hard as you can every time, you're gonna self-KO most of the time because you don't know where it's going. So my friend actually knows where he's placing those shots and he's ripping as hard as he can, but he has a consistent shot. So he's ripping consistently in the same place. So that's what we're doing today. We are focusing on our hands. So go back, watch the footwork video, watch this video, put them together and practice those shots. Try to continue and make a continuous effort to having some kind of continuity between your shots. All right. Hey guys, I'm enjoying doing this series. I love that you guys are commenting. You guys are blowing up the subscriptions. I have a surprise for everybody, a little bit more down the road, closer. If I can hit 500 subscribers, that would be wonderful. And that would actually make me want to launch my clothing line. I'm going to create a full Beyblade clothing line that's less otaku and more gear sports. So if you guys want to see that clothing line, please comment, like, subscribe, and tell a friend, because that's the only way that this is going to grow. So, hey, I appreciate everybody's support. And remember, if you guys want people to take Beyblade seriously, we have to take this seriously. All right, thanks. You guys have a great day.